Good afternoon, Trump family. Welcome to Open Source News. Have a good day and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news this Monday morning. Republican Matt Gaetz of Florida is blocking Kevin McCarthy from winning Speaker of the House. This is huge news. Matt Gaetz will be de facto Speaker after McCarthy concessions Steve Bannon. So essentially what's taking place is, you're not really going to have Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. Even if he wins, because you're not going to have that establishment, that type of establishment mentality, even though people say, oh, my God, he's just like McConnell. He's not like McConnell. Okay. McCarthy is backed by Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jim Jordan. Matt Gaetz is obviously a much better choice. I don't know if he could win outright, and become Speaker of the House outright. But this is Newsweek. Matt Gaetz will be Speaker de facto Speaker after McCarthy concessions. Steve Bannon, former advisor to Donald Trump's that Friday, the Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida Republican is essentially going to be the House Speaker in the next Congress. I'm not making this up. This is a new Newsweek article. His remarks come after House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy offered a key concession to conservatives, citing Republican sources who were familiar. Okay, so then you have to look at the fact that even if he's not Speaker of the House, and even if let's just say it's Kevin McCarthy that wins. So right now, Matt Gaetz, and about 20 other Republicans in Congress are blocking McCarthy from winning outright. He needs their support, and he will always need their support. There could be an attempt at removing McCarthy if he doesn't play ball with the most idealistic or the most passionate supporters of President Trump, which is a good thing. You have to look at Trump's record and remove it from the apoplectic and completely irrational obsession with Trump. We had record low unemployment, but we had record low poverty as well. Before in his last year in office, we had record low unemployment. And we had record low poverty. Or we had record lows in poverty. We hit a record low of 10.5%. National poverty rate. In 2019, the economy was working. We had record highs in household median income. Every demographic group in the beginning of his last year in office, Trump was doing very, very well, better than in decades. This is a fact, this is not hyperbole. Everyone was doing better economically, before media and bureaucrats and experts and government officials said tank the US economy. That was not Trump's idea. The trauma and hysteria regarding a serious topic blaming Trump for everything when more people lost their lives in the first years, and the first year of Biden's administration. Okay, that's also effect as Washington Examiner article on that. There are numerous articles on that. Then they tried to get out of it by saying, well, that's not exactly true. Okay. Objectively, that is true. But like a recession, they then redefine the word. You can look at the way Democrats behave when they're in power and the way they behave when Trump was in the Oval Office. And you could see the difference. My point is that he was a very good president in terms of accomplishments. We didn't have an invasion in Europe. And I use that term. I describe it in that way, just because for the algorithm, we didn't have an invasion in Europe. I wonder why. Then they spin it to could you imagine if Trump was in office? Yeah, if Trump was in office, this wouldn't have happened. He would have focused on a negotiated settlement instead of getting tens of billions of dollars and seeing people suffer. All because morally superior liberal Democrats can have an icon next to their Twitter profile and feel good about themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, Newsweek Matt Gaetz will become de facto Speaker after McCarthy concessions, and McCarthy has conceded to reducing the threshold. It's a push-up for a floor vote known as a motion to vacate by members to remove a sitting Speaker. The House GOP leader hopes this move will help him gain support from his critics. So there you go. He can be removed at any point. If it's McCarthy, you can be removed by any point, replaced by Gaetz, or Jim Jordan or Andy Biggs or anyone. That's a possibility. And so there are other concessions to mainly McCarthy promised impeachment to Trump. That's going to happen. His political future is dependent upon investigating Biden the manner they investigated Trump, difference being Biden and Hunter. Joe and Hunter almost certainly committed crimes. Trump did not say that again, for the morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats to listen to. Okay. Understand this and just you could play this back. Trump did not commit a crime. If he did, he would have been indicted. Very simple logic. You have the entire American political establishment, even never Trump Republicans. There are no never Bidens. You have the entire system, propping up Biden, shaking hands with ghosts. You have Fetterman, the new Democratic Pennsylvania senator and the Democrat in Pennsylvania. If he and Biden were talking and conversing with each other in a hot mic, you'd have a better chance deciphering well sounds. Democrats don't care about people who can communicate in a normal manner. They'll vote for a fern, a house cat. You just put D next to the entity and they will vote for the individual. It's or the entity or the inanimate objects, whatever, or the plant. They don't care. That's the actual cult. They say. They're so stuck in a computer program that they look at anyone else who doesn't vote Democrat and votes Trump's. Oh my God, you won't believe anything. Yeah, well, believe record low unemployment. 2% inflation, record low, and poverty. A Doha agreement that Biden completely botched, but it was Trump that reversed U.S. foreign policy. It wasn't Democrats. They say that, well, Biden removed Americans he was forced to because of a negotiated deal from his predecessor, Trump. And so it's Trump. It's the anti-war president. It is a moral imperative to vote for Trump. If you are anti-military intervention like I am. That's the most important issue, and Matt Gaetz is as well. And Trump Republicans are as well. So it's very good that Trump Republicans are taking over the House of Representatives. They're going to impeach Biden, but they're also going to ensure that a bunch of failed policies are hopefully reversed. Okay. And issues that we face, whether it's at the southern geographic region of our country where human beings are losing their lives, and Democrats and AOC, they're not weeping. They don't care if for some reason, I don't know why. That's right, because Trump is no longer in the Oval Office. Worst atrocities are taking place there. But you know what? Damn it. Democrats don't care. And they're all about optics, I think, important issue that Trump should focus on. Also, maybe a little better optics. And then this is some big news. Well, it happened again. You know, those same compassionate liberals, they play this character of being almighty and virtuous. Their virtue is not to be questioned. They are the best people in society, is what they want you to believe. Why is it that these people always end up getting exposed as absolutely vile individuals, heartless, callous, mean-spirited, angry control freaks who basically abused their staff? You know, Kamala Harris projects on the outside this, she says. Never let anyone take your joy from you. I call myself a joyful warrior. Right? Do what you got to do? And isn't that a wonderful way to live? To know you have purpose? Okay, folks, but the way her former staff described her's almost like a freaking tornado ravaging across the office, destroying everything in its path, yelling, screaming, screeching, and abusing your staff, who saw the same thing with Chrissy Teigen, such a good Hollywood woke celebrity, a philanthropist, a woke warrior fighting for the marginalized. But of course she got exposed as a total bullied Ellen DeGeneres, the exact same thing, a person who crafted a career off her smile and her kindness, created a whole brand about being nice to people, fostered a hostile work environment, and verbally abused her staff every single friggin' time, and this time it happens again. Democrat Representative Katie Porter, well, we might as well rename her to Democrat Representative Karen Porter, because new leaked text messages involving Mrs. Katie Karen Porter expose her for who she really is, a vile narcissist, an angry person who mistreats her staff and fired one of her staff members for one of the most ridiculously unhinged reasons you could imagine. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean. We got leaked text messages exposing the whole damn thing. All right, folks. Take a look at this. Democrat Representative Katie Porter under fire for treatment of veteran fellow as former staffer decries culture of fear. The office of Representative Katie Porter, Democrat from California, is taking heat for how she treated a veteran and a former staff in July for allegedly violating office protocols by catching the cool screenshots of text messages between Porter and her former Wounded Warrior Program fellow Sasha Georgiadis were published by the Dear White staffer's Twitter account on Tuesday or on Thursday. Rather, the post said that the text messages were shared with permission from the staffer who shared them, and they detail a conversation between Democrat Representative Porter and Georgia says that's a very rough name to say over the office's COVID-19 protocols. Take a look at the text messages right over here. Dear White staffers rights vibe check. Representative Katie Porter fire staffer after both test positive for the virus. Full text from the Congresswoman firing the staffer via text shared with permission from staffer today. Why did you not follow office protocol on testing? It's really disappointing. I'm terribly sorry. You're right, I should have done better. Just because I felt okay in the moment doesn't mean that I was Sasha. I cannot allow you back in the office. Given your failure to follow off his policies, Cody will be in touch about having your personal effects shipped or delivered to your home. And we'll lay out your remote work schedule and responsibilities for your last few weeks. I understand. Thank you for the last 2 years and all that I have learned. I hate to have disappointed you in the manner, as I know it isn't an excuse. I had found out that my friend from the Navy had been murdered and my head was not in the best place. Not an excuse, but the reasoning for the lack of forethought. I appreciate everything this officer has done for me. Well, you gave me the coup and 25 months it took you not following the rules to get me sick. My children have nobody to care for them. And here's where it gets even worse for Mrs. Porter, as if it wasn't enough for her to be a total tyrant in her office and to fire one of her employees in such ridiculous manner and in such a cold manner. The thread goes on with this little screen cap right over here. A message from caucus chair Mr. Shergill. Great to see folks in person and in Zoom for caucus meetings this past weekend. We had great speakers and great troublemakers as usual. I truly appreciate that all of our in-person attendees were face coverings to stay safe. Unfortunately, the CDP portion of the executive board meetings had lax face covering standards, and Representative Porter has now reported positive for the virus. I encourage the in-person attendees of our caucus meeting with Representative Porter to take appropriate precautions, including testings at our meeting. I enforced a mandatory mask policy with support of our board. Hello. For some speakers removed their face coverings when on the mic. I should have stopped their remarks and requested that they put their face covering back on. My apologies for this. It will not happen again. With a text message under someone just send me this, but this was after she knew that she had already been infected and she was still out. I mean the utter hypocrisy. Apparently, allegedly, Mrs. Katie Porter fires her staff member for showing up to the office once and forgetting to do a mandatory test, which I guess they were testing people every single time they came in and out in the office. But that situation had happened. Mrs. Katie Porter then fires her staffer for supposedly infecting her, says specifically, "You made me sick," and then shows up in person to other meetings, showing the complete disregard and double standard. This whole situation is so ridiculous in so many different levels. First of all, we don't even necessarily know if Mrs. Karen here wasn't the one spreading it in the first place. Who's to say that it was the staffer that transmitted in the first place? Second of all, the total disregard, the double standard, the hypocrisy to then go to a representative meeting and not be on Zoom, to actually go there in person, considering the militaristic policies that you employ in your own office and the standards that you set for your own staffers. It does not get more hypocritical than this. In fact, it does not get more Democrat Party than this. Rules for the but not for me. And of course now Mrs. Democrat Karen is facing a little bit of backlash for just her overall attitude. I mean, I get it, it was her office policy. The employee supposedly, from what we understand, broke the policy, and so some people might be willing to defend her, but it's just the whole attitude of it. This person who worked for you loyally for 2 years, making one suppose that mistake once, and to just be so vicious in the way that you handle the situation, so emotionally detached. Just pack your stuff and get out of here and work from home for the next 2 weeks. But in my opinion, rightfully so, she's facing backlash in a true Democrat fashion. Here's the response. Democrat Katie Porter denies firing staffer over virus diagnosis after a leak of hostile text message exchange. Yes, of course, Mrs. Porter. I'm sure everyone believes you, even though we literally have the text messages that prove the exact opposite, and that you're essentially a toxic, hostile boss. I'm sure everyone's just gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. You know what? I'm sure the next excuse is going to be the Joy Red excuse. My account was hacked. Wasn't me. I didn't say that. Somebody hacked my cell phone and wrote those messages for me. And I just never noticed that they were there. How ridiculous is this? This is the excuse that her office is releasing. She was a fellow in our office, and weeks before she breached our policies or our protocol in July. We had already mutually agreed on an end date in August 2022. Oh, how convenient. I'm sure that's the case. Congresswoman Porter was informing her that she would work from home for the remaining 3 weeks of her fellowship. Sure. And even if that's the case, still doesn't justify the tone and the basic level of disrespect for another human being for something so ridiculous. But of course we know the reality here. It's good again. Another toxic power-tripping Democrat Karen, Mrs. Sasha Georgia Das, comes in to clear the record. Porter has been praised by those on the left for videos of her tough questioning during congressional hearings. But Georgetta says that her combative attitude extends also to staffers who make mistakes. She has made multiple staffers cry, and people are generally so anxious to even staff her because if anything goes wrong, she flips out on whatever staffer is present. Your dad has said to Fox News, she just talks to staffers however she wants. It's Kamala Harris version 2.0. Ellen DeGeneres, probably Nancy Pelosi, and Hillary Clinton are all the same power-hungry, power-tripping Democrat Karens who generally just mistreat people around them, stuck-up elitist snobs who have no respect for human beings working under them. Another example of virtuous left droids essentially being the exact opposite behind the scenes. Thank you for watching the video.